A little fact about this video, but I actually intended on releasing this on July 4th, but instead of it being about the Krusty Krab Trilogy, it was going to be at the Fania, or Five Nights at Anime Trilogy, because what better way to celebrate the 4th of July than talk about giant titties. But the video was scrapped, probably permanently, so I decided to make a video about a different trilogy, specifically the Five Nights at the Krusty Krab Trilogy. And after this, I'm going to start working on a massive project, which will be like all 26 games made by Devin Manning. So that's gonna be fun. Please subscribe. I know that my upload schedule is as consistent as my father paying child support. I try my best with these videos, and I'm only one person at the end of the day. Regardless though, let's talk about the first game in the trilogy, Five Nights at the Krusty Krab. Five Nights at the Krusty Krab was released on January 16th, 2015, in the Unreal Engine of all things. 6 months ago, Dakota made a post about a remake of Five Nights at the Krusty Krab, and it has not been worked on since. And a Twitter post from 2023, Dakota said the game was about 70% done, but we don't have much about the remake in the first place. There's a 40-second long teaser on the Game Jolt, but that really is all I know. Have I mentioned that the developer, Dakota, was harassed because the game was put on Steam by someone other than Dakota? It's not important, but I thought it was something that I should mention because it is pretty notable. So, what about the cast? The cast is really obvious. It's what you would expect. SpongeBob, Squidward, Patrick, Sandy, and Mr. Krabs. Every character does the exact same thing except Squidward. Now, why am I talking more about a remake that isn't out over the actual game itself? The reason is incredibly simple. It's a 2015 fan game. It's just the original Five Nights at Freddy's with SpongeBob characters and also a lot worse. There's only two somewhat unique aspects for the time. Well, the first is Squidward's design. That's still really fucking funny. But the second is the game ends with your protagonist, Eli Floyd, escaping the Krusty Krab after it was set on fire. The game is also incredibly easy. I think I only died once in all 6 nights. Let's move on to Five Nights at the Chum Bucket, the sequel, because I genuinely have nothing else to say about this game. Five Nights at the Chum Bucket was released on April 19th, 2015, only a few months after the first game, which is a massive surprise considering how much of an improvement this game is compared to the first. After the Krusty Krab burned down the first game, your main character, Eli Floyd, was kidnapped and thrown into the Chum Bucket, where you have to survive the returning animatronics, as well as the phone guy who's also trying to save you. We have a bigger cast of characters than the first game, so let's talk about him. Like I said, we have the phone guy, but he's kind of pointless as he regularly gets cut out by a character that's known as the business official, also known as the second in command of the Chum Bucket. He will call us and give us some advice on how to survive the nights. You might be wondering why. Well, he just likes a fair fight. The superior is another unseen character, though it's heavily implied that it's Plankton. Just like in the first game, SpongeBob will go to your left door and Patrick will go to your right door. Although for Patrick, I think you have to close both doors because he would kill me if one of my doors was open. Squidward will be climbing through the vents and you just have to seal one side of the vent depending on which side he's on. Mr. Krabs will be stopped by shining the light on his face. Sandy will go to the generator room and she'll mess with it similar to the first game, but I didn't mention it then because it didn't really have an impact on anything. And to stop her, you just need to press the overdrive button. Although I don't think I actually encountered her. Regardless though, if you don't press the overdrive button, she'll kill you. That's right, I haven't talked about the overdrive button, have I? Well, normally you can only use 2 things in the office at once. 2 doors, 1 door, 1 light, so on and so forth. But the button lets you use an additional item, although you can only use it for 15 seconds before you have to wait for the cooldown to go off. Regardless though, Karen will only be active on night 6, and similar to the red man from One Night at Flumpty's, you can't actually see her on the cameras. You can only see her during her jump scare. The final characters are the Phantom animatronics, Phantom Squidward, Patrick, and SpongeBob. They will appear outside the window if you look at cameras 18, 5, and 9 for too long. You just have to go back into the camera to get rid of them. I also didn't see any of the animatronics, and the reason why is because you don't really need to use the cameras. At least I didn't. Nights 1 through 5, and for most of 6, I was able to just stay in the vent camera without dying to, like, Sandy. And for Karen, you just need to occasionally check the west hallway after 4. So it really is not that much of an issue, and something that, in my opinion, is a shame. Because I really like the camera layout. It kind of reminds me of Jolly 3 Chapter 2 in that it's all separated. When you beat Night 6, a cutscene starts to play, and I'll let it play out in its entirety.
Hello? I can see you through the glass. The doors, they're stuck fast. I can't get it open. Could you try from your side?
That was Five Nights at the Chum Bucket, and honestly, I actually really liked this game. It was a massive improvement. I wouldn't say it's the best, or even in my top 20, but it was pretty enjoyable. Now, let's finish this trilogy off with the final game in the series, that being Five Nights at Rock Bottom. Rock Bottom is the third and final game in the trilogy. RB has the phone guy becoming the protagonist instead of Eli Floyd. Meanwhile, after Eli was killed by Squidward and Chum Bucket, his brain and heart were put inside of Hammerhead, who tries to kill the new protagonist inside a nuclear power plant. Alright, I'm gonna drop this bit real quick. Yeah, Five Nights at Rock Bottom was cancelled. It was put in development shortly after the release of Chum Bucket, and like I said before, the story was going to be that Eli was killed, put inside Hammerhead, and was dragged inside of a nuclear power plant in Rock Bottom. So there's an entire video, I will leave it linked in the description below, of course, going over the reasons why it's cancelled, but because that was like 17 minutes long, I'm just going to summarize it as fast as I can. A major part of why Rock Bottom was made in the first place wasn't because of passion, but rather because games like Five Nights at Wario's and One Night at Flumpty's were all getting third installments. Dakota took a lot of inspiration from a horror game named Soma. Soma, that game's art style didn't really fit with characters like Hammerhead, which caused Rock Bottom to be remade, and a lot of people didn't like the teasers, which caused Dakota to quit progress on this game, and it was announced that it was cancelled. After all that, 6 years went by without a single update to the series, until an image was posted to the Five Nights at Chum Bucket Game Jolt page. After 6 long years of this franchise being laid dormant, we finally got a new teaser showing Hammerhead with the text, "One last hurrah." A few months later, teasers were being dropped, announcements were being dropped, until the game eventually released. On May 8th, 2022, the game had finally come out, and the long-awaited threequel was released, and it was received very positively. Chapter 3 pulls a one out of Flumpty's 3, and it has a lot of aspects from the cancelled game brought back. Krusty Krab has you defending yourself using bright lights in an abandoned nuclear power plant. All the while, you have to balance your power and core temperature, though it doesn't take place in rock bottom, rather somewhere in the ocean. So let's talk about this game's cast of characters. You have Hammerhead, the Amalgam, Squidward, the Phantoms, Plankton, and Karen. Hammerhead is the brand new character introduced in the game. He will go to your left and right side. You have to flash him with your lights to scare him off, although he and Amalgam do both make sounds whenever they're there. The Amalgam is a combination of Patrick, SpongeBob, and Mr. Krabs. Unlike Hammerhead, he will actually fake you out multiple times, which it did get me, I'm not gonna lie. But like Hammerhead, you're just supposed to flash the lights, and he can also go to both sides. Squidward will be in the vent, and you have to turn the lights off whenever you hear ventilation sounds. If you don't, an exposure meter will fill. When the meters fill, you die. The mechanic is obviously inspired by Grunkfist from Flumpty's 2. It even uses the same sound effects. Sandy will attack the generator core. If she's successful and it runs out of life, she'll rush to your office and kill you. However, she actually has a second mechanic. Her second mechanic is intertwined with Karen's, so I'll just talk about them now. But Karen will actually hack Sandy, which is a reference to, in the Chum bucket, how they share the exact same model. But she'll hack Sandy and possess her. If the bar fills, the possessed Sandy will rush to your office and kill you. A small little detail I like is when Karen hacks Sandy, she actually has a Chum bucket helmet on, which I think is a reference to the original SpongeBob movie. Oh no, I really haven't watched any of it. It's on the second one, and like that one SpongeBob Wii game. Then we have Plankton. Plankton cannot kill you because he's too small, but he will serve as a hindrance to you. He will steal the tape, which will leave you open to the Phantoms, or he would steal a spare fuse, or he would turn the power off or flip a switch. You just have to click on him to get rid of him. Then we have the Phantoms who return. If you don't have the tape playing, then the Phantoms will eventually kill you if you don't get the tape back. Nights 1 through 4, like most fan games, are pretty much the same, but they do get harder. However, Night 5, on the other hand, just like One Night at Flumpty's 3, has Hammerhead destroying every other animatronic and takes their place, even Karen, somehow. But that doesn't apply to the Phantoms, who are also active this night. And this night is difficult. It by far took me the longest to actually beat it. But I actually really like this night. It's fun, it's stressful, but it's also difficult, and it doesn't really feel like unfair. I also really like how animatronics like the Amalgam or Squidward's head, which is on your desk, twitch around. It genuinely made me think, oh my god, are these going to become active threats? But no, they don't. Whenever you eventually beat Night 5, you get the credits, which I'll play in its entirety.
Hello, hello. I always wondered why you answered the phone like that. You know, I wasn't sure this was how the story would end. Hell, I barely even believe any of it happened at all. I was broke, living in LA, and I accepted a job with shit pay just to make rent. Man, does that sound like the start of a B-grade horror flick? Doesn't make it much better that I was in a Nickelodeon-themed restaurant. Honestly, I'd have made more money if I took the ad and wrote the movie it was begging me to write, but nope. Instead, I called them up and aced the interview like an absolute sucker. Go me, I guess. I wasn't even there a day before I realized things were off. Apparently the whole thing was caused by this one guy with ties to TBS. I think he and Eugene from Viacom have been feuding privately over some dirty investments, and you and I got caught in the middle. After the incident in the power plant, I woke up 3 months later in Iceland. Apparently I made a break for it after you went psycho and got away. I still don't know how. I got picked up by a fisherman and his crew. I tried to tell my story, but, of course, no one believed me. How could they? I was stalked halfway across the ocean by SpongeBob characters. What else am I supposed to say? I still think I'm insane just writing this, but I don't even think I could make this up if I desperately wanted to. I had myself admitted as soon as I got back to the States. The night terrors just wouldn't stop, and I needed all the help I could get. I could see its face, your face, whenever I closed my eyes or walked into a dark room. How screwed up is that? Well, it's no matter now, I hope. The doc's given me the go-ahead to be discharged. Thankfully, they've got a job lined up for me. I'm a night guard. Jesus, why did I even say yes to that? Well, it should be fine. I'm just watching a mall in some backwater town in Oregon. Myriad Square Gardens, I think it's called. Hopefully no more mascots, no more robots, and no more fear. Anyway, this is my last journal entry from the hospital, so wish me luck back out in the wide world. From the Journal of Eli Floyd, former night guard at the Krusty Krab themed restaurant in Santa Monica, May 9th, 2007. Adios, Hammerhead.
That was Five Nights at the Krusty Krab Chapter 3. It was an amazing game, and honestly, I would say it's probably my top 10 favorite fan games, period. My only real complaint is it could be a me problem, but I had a tough time really understanding everything for the first 2 days after I played it, but other than that, I can't wait for the remake of the Krusty Krab. Also forgot to mention this, but there's a challenge night and a nightmare night. Nightmare night is just night 5, but Plankton is active as well as the Phantoms, and the exposure meter goes up more, and challenge night is just a harder version of the main nights. I have not beaten these yet, and I don't think you get anything for getting 3 stars, but I just thought I would throw it in anyway. See you when my next video is done, whenever that is.